I am really happy to be with you today, this afternoon. My name is Francois. I am an expert in sport and sustainability for the past 10 years, and we are here to share a very important and interesting topic about sponsoring. I am also very happy because you are more and more talking about this topic. I am very happy also because more and more sports organizations are talking about the IPCC report, le rapport du GIEC. More and more sport organizations are speaking about the 9 ecosystemic planet boundaries. More and more sports organizations are integrated, implementing climate risk within their clubs or their federation. But I am also scared. I'm scared because you have also a lot of sports organizations and some sponsors doing sponsorship deals with polluting companies. I'm scared because you have some sports organizations that organize events in 3 countries. I'm scared because I don't know if the sports and if the sport industry will succeed in tackling sustainable issues. So we are here to speak about a topic called sponsoring, but a sponsoring with impact. A sponsoring that can help the world change. A sponsoring that can help the society to be better. So please, make an applause for 3 amazing guests this afternoon, Fabien, Stuart, and Emilie. So, we will begin by you, Fabien. Hello, Fabien. Can you introduce yourselves and also give us some context about the climate and about the sponsoring that we want to implement to change the world, called the Sport Sponsors Climate Pledge?
Thank you, Francois. So I'm Fabien. I'm the co-founder at 17 Sports. 17 Sport is a sports impact company operating at the intersection of sports, business, and purpose. Our name stands for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And basically, we exist to really solve the biggest problem in the world by using the transformative power of sport. That's who we are. To give a bit of context, first of all, we know that businesses and the corporate sector, they have a responsibility in the fight against climate emergency. But we also know that sport is, on one side, part of the problem, and on the other side, also part of the solution. So 2 years ago, with ChangeNOW and now with Fair Play for the Planet, we start thinking, how can we drive systemic change together and really help the business sector to take responsibility and to accelerate the transition of the business of sport. And one way to do that is to redirect financial capital that exists and to redirect towards more environmental friendly solutions. So that's why we came with the idea of the pledge to really help the sponsors to move and to call the right holders, the properties, to accelerate into the ecology transition. And so basically the Sports Sponsor Climate Pledge today aims to go further than traditional charters by correlating and conditioning corporate sponsorship investment in sport to more eco-friendly properties and right holders.
Thank you, Fabien. Stuart, hello. Stuart, can you also introduce yourself to the audience and also give us some explanation of why Accord joined the pledge? What is your ambition through this?
Of course, and thank you very much for inviting me here. So I'm Stuart Wehrman. I lead global sponsorship, member experiences, and corporate hospitality for the Accord Group, so hotels and all associated services. I've been at the group for 2 years, just over, and I've spent over 20 years in the sponsorship industry, and I'm also a board member of the European Sponsorship Association. And each year we actually research and survey our members across Europe, brands, rights holders, agencies, suppliers, to ask what the trends will be for the coming 12 months. And sustainability has been number one for the last few years. I passionately believe that this approach is just going to be table stakes. So it's about being on the right side of history. Everybody has suddenly woken up to the fact that climate change is real. We are in the process of buying time because science will have to find the answer, and we need to buy time to allow science to find the answer so we don't do too much damage to the planet in the meantime. Why Accor have signed the pledge? We signed it last year, one of the founding members. Really important to us to say what we believe in and do what we believe in. And it's very, very close to our values. We know that the travel industry is part of the problem, and we are therefore also part of the solution. And we're passionate about trying to reduce our footprint across multiple areas in this area. Number one, eliminating single-use plastics, reducing food waste, reducing energy consumption across our hotels, increasing diversity and inclusion across our group globally, but also investing in future technologies to research what are those opportunities for clean energy in the future. So we really, really do put our money where our mouth is, and this is a natural extension of that commitment.
Thank you, Stuart. You, Emilie, can you also, like Fabien and Stuart, introduce yourself? And also my question is, we speak about the sponsors, but the right holders has also a role to play. Can you share us the role of your organization to try to tackle also sustainable issues?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Emilie Llorens. I'm Sustainability Manager for the French SailGP team, which is a team representing France in international sailing championship called SailGP. And luckily enough, we work with Accor, which is our main sponsor in all sustainability aspects. So I've been working with the team to try to implement a lot of sustainability measures. And SailGP is the startup. The league started a few years ago, and they decided to put sustainability at their heart. So sustainability is really part of their DNA. And they set a really ambitious objective, which is to be the most sustainable league in the world. That said, it's really ambitious, but then you need to put a lot of resources and a lot of actions. So what SailGP did is that they decided to use their core value, which is competition, and also they like the team fighting against each other. They're really trying to make a league that's really readable for spectators, so it's only country competing against each other. So they wanted the sustainability part to be exactly the same, to be easy to understand for spectators. So what they create what they call the Impact League. Do you want me to? Yeah. So the Impact League is currently a parallel championship. So you have the sport championship at every event that goes during the season. Every team won points depending on the sport result. But they also initiated another league, which is the Impact League. And at every event, every single team has to fill a report about their sustainability action. So it goes from how the team did go to the event, how many waste the team produced, how many children have you educated, and everything is taken into consideration. At every event, you got points. And then during the whole season, you also need to develop some more big project dedicated on some focus area, for example, waste or energy.
Okay, thank you, Emilie. I come back to you, Fabien. Can you maybe remind for the audience who have signed the pledge last year, which organization, and can you give us more updates maybe about the next steps and what will be scheduled for the next months?
Yeah, of course. So last year we had 4 founding members, Accor being one of them, but also EDF, Sodexo and Orange. So we were very pleased to start last year with those 4 founding members. In terms of next step, I mean, of course, we want to increase the number of signatories, but committed signatories. I think that's very important, and I know we're going to announce new signatories today. And from the pledge perspective, I mean, we want to go further to what it is, and of course, helping I will say the sponsors and the signatories to be educated on the topic, to provide advisory how they can embed their carbon reduction plan into a sports sponsorship strategy. And we also talk about adding a carbon performance indicator within the sponsorship contracts to really go a step further.
Yeah.
So that's really what
Yeah. We will talk about that also more precisely in the next minutes. I come back to you, Stuart. My question is, when you sign sponsors today, we spoke about sustainable KPIs or strategy. What is the strategy of Accor if you want to sign a new partners or also with your current one? We know that this pledge can also help speak and enhance the relationship that you can have with the right holders. It's a great way to communicate, to engage a discussion to be better and to be tackling this issue. So can you give us some maybe update about that?
Of course. We're talking about Scope 3 emissions, right?
Yeah.
And our sponsorships are part of our supply chain. There's no way around that, right? So we get judged just like our corporate customers come to us and say, what are your green credential sustainability policies, etc. That then needs to be passed on. We all need to be working collaboratively to achieve the same goal of reducing our climate impact. Two different areas. One is with existing partners and one is with looking at who we work with in the future. So working with our current partners, and we have to distinguish between those that are already doing brilliant stuff and those that are towards the start of their journey, shall we say, right? We should not be penalizing either party. We should be rewarding those organizations that are moving in the right direction and that are committed to moving in that right direction. So it's helping identify where they are, making sure that they're measuring what they can measure, and being able to have a plan in place to reduce those carbon emissions going forward. So in terms of, that's in terms of our existing sponsorships. And then when we look ahead to our potential new partners, actually it's defining a few screening questions before we even engage, right? It's to identify if there are any red flags, anything we should be concerned about. We at Accor, we have an ethics committee, and we also have a sponsorship governance council where Brune is part of that from an ESG perspective. So we can actually identify any issues potentially with anything new that is coming to the table for the group. So in that way, we can help identify any potential concerns that we may actually stop conversations right there and then, or we need to investigate further.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. When we speak about sponsoring, we speak also about activation, about how do we implement the activation linked to these sponsors. Emilie, can you share maybe some purpose-driven activation that you are leading with Accor, that SailGP is leading with Accor, for instance?
Yeah, so I think for Accor it was key. The Impact League was part of, what was interesting for them within the SailGP League. And that clearly told us, we want your team to win the Impact League. It's one of their goals, being partner with us. And so the Impact League works at every event. We need to fill a report, but we also have this big project that we have to do during the year. And one of them, for example, is reducing waste. And we had a quick brainstorm, and for us it's become obvious, like we need to work on food waste. Like with Accor being expert, being major hospitality group, having all the knowledge, we couldn't not benefit from that. And we didn't want to stay at our team level, so we went all the way up to the league level. Like we have a lot of catering on site, we have VIP catering, we have team catering. There are lots of food being produced. And when you know like that a third of the food produced in the world is actually discarded, it's just something that you can't ignore as a sport event. So we decided to work with Accor. SailGP has really good sustainability standards. We had a food charter, but we looked at how we can even improve this charter. And we actually work with the Accor teams and say, what are you doing in terms of food? And from the beginning, how do you source your product to how you actually put your buffet in your hotel and everything. And we moved from a food charter to actually an action sheet that SailGP League is now implementing. And it's more about like everything. How do you choose your caterer? How do you rate your caterer so you make sure you don't work with them in the next year if they didn't tick some boxes? So it's really, and it's not just we do the document and it's finished. There was a real work and ongoing with Accor teams and SailGP teams to progress all together and to make the most from their knowledge. So that's one example, but we're also working on Accor with two other focus areas, which is clean energy. Accor is supporting the league, developing clean energy on some events through hydrogen generator solution. It's quite impactful for a sponsor to just activate like that, like supporting a league. And the third one is also diversity, equity and inclusion. We have a program at SailGP where people come for internship during events, and Accor is now giving the possibility for some of this intern to join Accor, and they have meeting with a human resources department and everything. So it's really like just what we do at the team level. It's like making it bigger and more powerful.
Thank you, Emilie. I come back to you, Fabien. We know that sponsoring is a mission to try to help society also to be better and to help tackle some sustainable issue. We know that it's also important to rework the commercial proposition value of a sponsors tomorrow to redirect the financial flow towards most sustainable organization. What is your point of view about that? Can you also maybe explain us what do you think about reworking the commercial value of a sponsors to redirect the financial flow towards the best in class? I know that you are doing that with the IOC at 17 Sport. Can you also speaking about that a little bit?
I mean, first, I think we need collective action. I mean, the corporate sector has a responsibility, but the right holders also need to rethink, I think, their value proposition to be relevant to sponsors. And this is really important if they want to still attract sponsors and partners who really are not just coming for the visibility or the hospitality, they become a partner because of they feel that the property can become a relevant platform to manifest their purpose, to manifest their social, environmental objectives. So I believe it's a collective group of stakeholders, and I think we come back to the essence of what is a partnership. It's not just about, it doesn't have to be transactional, opportunistic. I think it has to be much more strategic. And I think it's a question of relevance. And I think that the companies that are really embracing that change and starting to really think with this approach, I think will be the ones that will remain relevant for the coming years.
Thank you, Fabien. Stuart, for you, when you signed the pledge, what is the main challenges that you face? Is it a governance one? Is it complicated to implement it? Is it to embark your employees, your collaborators? What is the main challenges of signing this kind of pledge?
I think there's a few key challenges. I think, as Fabien said, it's a collective effort. This requires a lot of people galvanized behind the same goal. Now, we all have the same holistic goal, right? The planet seems to have that goal. But we need to make action, and we need to engage the entire sponsorship community. And that is, yes, brands, yes, rights holders, yes, media, and the fans particularly, because Scope 3 emissions from rights holders is probably their biggest challenge. How do you reduce the Scope 3 emissions at sporting events? And that's fan travel, that is fan presence and spectator presence, because the rights holders themselves, many of them are doing fantastic things to reduce their own carbon footprint that they can control themselves. You know, SailGP, a fabulous example of doing that. But how do you reduce the travel, transportation, freight, emissions and impact, right? So that's kind of number one. Number two is galvanizing the community around the world from our perspective. We are a fairly complex business. We own 5,000, well, we operate, manage, franchise nearly 6,000 hotels around the world. Many of those we are not actually in control of. We do not own those hotels. So a lot of the decision making can be decentralized even at the local hotel level. So how do we make sure that we are reaching out, engaging, and making the decision makers at the local level make the right decision as well, aligned, being coherent with our global strategy and global approach?
Thank you, Stuart. And same question for you, Emilie. What is the main challenge, for instance, for right holders to implement this sustainable initiative and to be able to fit with some precise KPIs to respect, for instance, the Paris Agreement in the decarbonization strategy?
I think maybe the main challenge is to find the right partners. I mean, not all the partners. The problem is that sport need money, and planting tree doesn't bring a lot of money. So you need to find the right sponsor that has actually have the right values. And at this, I already been a bit ahead in their journey, and they're not starting. They need to already have thought about all these things. So it's finding them, and finding them, having the one that have the willingness to really engage on the subject and create some impact.
Okay, thank you, Emilie. And for you, Stuart, maybe a last question. if you want to convince other sponsors to join the initiative, what is your recommendation and what is your advice to convince them to join us on this transformative one?
My own view is this is going to be table stakes. Just genuinely, it's going to be you fast forward 20 years, 30 years. Well, actually, even sort of 15 to 20 years, we're going to be up to 2050, right? And that's the Paris Climate Accord deadline, right? So many companies have signed up to that. Well, it'll become real pretty quickly. So what are you doing to make sure that we're going to meet those deadlines and be on the right side of history, frankly?
Okay, thank you. And for you, maybe Fabien also, what is your advice to convince people to implement this purpose-driven initiative? What can they do?
I mean, to Stuart's point, I think it's a question of relevance, and I think if you still want to be part of the game in a couple of years, I mean, you need to embrace change. And of course, it's always challenging within an organization to change, and there is a lot of politics, and it's always difficult. But if you look back in 5 years, 10 years, I think if you still want to be part of it, you need to. I think the risk is to do nothing, actually.
For sure.
The risk is,
Emilie, same question. If you have to convince the right holders to implement sustainable strategy, to join this initiative, to be a supporters of this pledge, what is your recommendation?
If you don't want to be has-been, you will. No, I think, we are really observing a shift in sponsorship, and now, in the organization we work for in SailGP, most of the sponsors are coming for the sustainability part, and this is really a movement, and if you don't want to be left outside of this movement, now a customer will look at the brand, doesn't look only at what the brand is doing, but is looking at everything around, and this is key, and the customer, spot all the, there was 22,000 spectators last weekend at Christchurch event, and that's the thing that we look at when they look at the brand, and what kind of sports event are they associating with, and what kind of action the event is doing. So that's really important also for the customer, and to make a successful partnership.
Thank you, Emilie. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Fabien. You can applaud them. Thank you very much for your commitment. You can go on that way. It's not finished, because we have a surprise for you. When we speak about sponsoring, we have to speak also about measurement, about audit. How can I measure the success of a partnership? Is it only classical KPIs? I put a logo on my jersey, I offer hospitality, or are they another KPIs to measure? Reduction of the carbon footprint, commitment towards sustainability, etc., etc. So I will welcome on stage Julien Pierre. Please, Julien, you can join us from Fair Play for Planet, and Alexis Gazo from EY. Thank you. Thank you, Julien. Thank you, Alexis. Now we will speak about figures. We will speak about audit. We will speak about labelization. First question for you, Julien. Can you introduce yourselves and introduce Fair Play for Planet, your label?
Hello everybody. Alors, tu vas traduire, je vous épargne mon anglais.
I will be translation. Okay.
Fair Play for Planet est le premier label indépendant et co-responsable pour les structures sportives, clubs, amateurs ou événements sportifs.
So Fair Play for Planet is the first sustainable label for clubs and federations.
On a créé un référentiel avec l'ADEME, 18 thèmes, 350 critères, tous mesurables et quantifiables.
So they work with the ADEME, which is a sustainable organization, and they have more than 350 criteria to measure the success of sustainability strategy.
Et de la base de ce référentiel, on vient auditer ces structures sportives et leur attribuer ou non un label avec 3 niveaux de labels différents, suivant l'engagement et les actions mises en place de ces structures.
So there is 3 levels of label, level 1, level 2, level 3. And if you are level 3, you are the most best in class. So we hope that all the sports organizations become level 3 in the next few months, years. We'll see. Let's see. Thank you, Julien. Alexis, thank you for being here. Can you also introduce yourselves and give us maybe the why. Why EY is joining us?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm Alexis Gazo. I'm a partner at EY. I lead a team specialized on sustainability. It's a team of 200 persons in France. We've been working on sustainability for 25 years, and we're both consultants and auditors. As auditors, we're here as a third party to check the performance in terms of environmental and social KPIs. So our role is really here to bring trust in the system. Usually it's in the financial system and the capital markets, but also with other stakeholders, again, to bring trust on the veracity of the ESG performance that is announced.
Thank you, Alexis. Julien, how many clubs in your label today?
Fair Planet a été créé en 2020, novembre 2020.
Yeah.
Aujourd'hui, on travaille avec une cinquantaine de structures à travers la France et quelques clubs en Belgique notamment, que ce soit des clubs top niveau ou des événements ou d'autres structures d'ailleurs, avec un objectif d'arriver à une centaine à la fin de l'année.
Okay, so more than 50 clubs from amateur section to professional one, and your objective is to reach 100, and then all the sports actors maybe.
Et on travaille déjà avec tout type de sport, que ce soit des clubs de ski jusqu'à des clubs de Ligue 1 ou des clubs de rugby, des événements sportifs, course au large, tournoi de basket ou autres, et tout type d'événements, golf, hippodrome, arena, patinoire, piscine.
Okay, so interesting to see that it's not just football. All the sports clubs federation has to change from ski to basket, to handball, to foot, so a large panel of actors. Thank you, Julien. Alexis, so EY will be more and more involved in the sport industry, I think, thanks to this pledge. Why is it so important to audit, to measure?
Yeah, maybe a first comment on the sports industry. I think we've been involved for years in different manners with the sports industry, and what is clear is that from the outset we've always seen that sports industry creates a lot of economic benefits, but has a lot of environmental impacts as well. But now things are changing, and we do see with a number of events like the Rugby World Cup in 2023, for example, that there's much more items specific to environmental performance. So of course for us I think it makes sense to play our part in a way, to get involved in, I would say, applying methodologies that can both, I guess, make all the ecosystem progress, but also bring maybe a bit more transparency on the actual performance. So again, it's here, I think our role can be here to improve trust. Again, I'm getting back to this word, but also, continuous improvement, because when you audit, you're also in a continuous dialogue with stakeholders. And I think now it's becoming really important for investors, for civil society, citizens, but also for regulators to have much more transparency on the results. And with the new regulatory framework, like the CSRD, it's going to go much farther. So,
okay. Thank you, Alexis. Julien, why Fair Play for Planet, the pledge? You seem not needed us, so why did you join this initiative?
Naturellement, je pense qu'aujourd'hui, le monde du sport a besoin de s'engager, de prouver qu'il s'engage, de pouvoir mesurer son engagement, mesurer son impact. Et c'est vrai que nous, on est un outil pour pouvoir mesurer cet impact véritablement. Je te laisse.
Yes, so as you say, it's important to measure. Sports need to measure the impact that they have, not only for the sponsors, how many products I sell, or how many people I attract in my organization. It's to explain that I can have a positive impact on the society also.
Et aujourd'hui, on voit de plus en plus de sponsors qui s'engagent justement, qui engagent le monde du sport dans une durabilité qui amène du sens quelque part et de l'impact dans leur sponsoring. Et c'est pour ça que naturellement, on a rejoint le pledge en tant que partenaire. On est très fiers.
Thank you, Julien. So it's important to add that, to add sustainability in your core strategy, to embed also sustainability in your core business to really make change. Not only have CSR department on the side. This is important. So I agree with you, Julien. Alexis, what is the next step for you? If you think about this pledge, what can be the next moment?
So obviously, we're looking forward to getting involved in this pledge. I think we really like the idea of using sponsorship as an instrument, as a lever to deploy much more environmental commitments, and in particular the idea of having this performance linked, with as I understand, a part of the sponsorship, which would be really linked to the fact that the ayant droit would commit to a clear action plan on carbon and on environment. I think it's quite similar to what we see in the financial industry, where we have sustainability-linked loans. So really important. I think it really goes in the way of the trends that we're seeing. And again, if we can support this, I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Thank you, Alexis. And maybe to come back to you, Julien, what is the main challenge that you see when you see the pledge, when you see sustainability? What is the challenge that we face?
Le challenge, c'est que le sport soit un véritable acteur de l'accélération de la transition et que justement que tous les parties prenantes du sport, que ce soit les sponsors, les joueurs, les athlètes, ou le pouvoir public, puissent aussi se servir du sport comme un véritable accélérateur de cette transition. On sait la puissance du sport et des sportifs dans notre société et qu'on doit pouvoir faire monter tout ça et de faire accélérer cette transition.
Okay, so important to embark everyone, for the athletes, to the NGOs, to everyone, to the government. So you are also here to accelerate that through your label and this pledge. So I agree with you. Same question for you, Alexis. What will be for you the main challenge that you saw on that implementation, convincing the governance? What is the challenge?
I think it's a bit the same as Julien. The challenge is to act. So to move from commitment to action, and how do you measure your real action, the results of your action, and that's a lot of change management, especially in I think ecosystems where there are leaders, but there's also a lot of organizations which are quite far from it now, and that we need to embark.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julien. Thank you, Alexis. You can applaud them because they are committed to this big session. So we can announce that you can see Randstad and EY join us on this initiative. So two big main sponsors. And it's also really important to remind that we have more than 100 sports organizations that join us, from athletes to NGOs to clubs to federations. So it's just the beginning of this journey. You are all here, and I'm very happy to see that there are a lot of new faces and new people joining us. So thank you very much, and let's change the world together. Thank you very much. Thank you, Julien. Thank you, Alexis.